Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Abhishek, and welcome to the Ode to Gran Turismo, our running series giving or bidding farewell to Gran Turismo Sport before Gran Turismo 7 comes out in a few days. Today is the race between the Group B drivers. They are racing at Tokyo Expressway in the Group 3 cars of their choices. If you remember, they qualified before the tournament began in a specific Group 3 car, and that car is now their bread and butter. That is the car that they have to use for the tournament. While we're talking, we also have the racers out on the track qualifying. We did have a couple of glitches, but right now we're just waiting to see if we can restart the race at a different time with the manual qualifying grid order. But I also wanted to introduce you to our commentary team. As usual with me is the ancient pleb, Aditya Raghav. And we also have a guest today in the form of Santosh, who was with us, I think, the week before. And he was really excited to come back on. Pleb, say hi to everyone.
Hello guys, welcome back to the fourth race of our league. This should be an interesting race as well because it's in Tokyo and the track is mainly meant for slipstreams, and there is a chicane which is going to be quite tricky. So we should see some good racing and maybe some incidents as well.
Absolutely. Santosh, what are your thoughts?
Hello guys, welcome for the fourth race. I'm pretty excited that this is the first night race that we will be having in the league. As Aditya told, we will be seeing some good split streams in the back straights and the main straight, and we have a chicane where we can expect some incidents, but let's hope we will bring on some clean action to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, the chicane is... I don't really have words to define that chicane. It's just so awkward. Some cars seem to take it well. Some cars just don't really go through all that well in that chicane. It feels clumsy all the time. While we are talking, I mean, the guys are setting up a time. The Wildest Monk has done a 1:32.8, which is a very good time, especially for Group B, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Cars that are mainly suited for this track, I think, for example, Zolo is in the Mazda, and as we saw during practice sessions, this car is really good when it comes to fuel saving. So he's going to have, like, his strategy is going to be quite simple. It's mostly going to be a one stop, and he can save a lot of fuel. So I also think this car is quite smooth on the chicanes. There are certain cars, I think maybe the Supra and even the Porsche. So these cars might bump around or jump around in the chicane. I think it's best to avoid the curbs, the sausage curbs, as much as you can. So that should keep it safe for the guys.
Absolutely. Santosh, you've been practicing with these guys as well. I've been doing that also. So I know for a fact that the master that we're looking at here is really look at how he takes that chicane. He just jumps over the first sausage curve and then the car just stays planted. So what are your thoughts in terms of the grid? Obviously the Wildest Monk is at the top. We're just looking at Zolo as he finishes up his lap, and he does a 32.897 while Monk does a 32.360. What are your thoughts, Santosh?
I believe that Mazda.
Santosh, are you still there with us? Alright guys, I think Santosh might have had some network issues
On this track, but
yeah, I think Santosh might have had some network issues. Yeah, we'll see if he might want to rejoin and try something else. But we'll look at the other cars. We're looking at Sushi right now in the Toyota Supra, just 8/10ths away from the Wildest Monk. Apart from the Wildest Monk and Zolo, but I also want to acknowledge people in the chat as well. So Sheikh says predictions in terms of he thinks Monk is going to win because Zolo is pleb. So I'm not sure if he's referring to pleb, the ancient pleb, or pleb just in general because he's going to pleb it during the race, as we've seen in the past 3 races. Yeah, he does clarify to say, I do hope Zolo doesn't make any mistakes tonight. It's
Yeah.
definitely a walk in the park for the Mazda, don't you think?
I think past couple of races, Zolo was a bit unlucky. I mean, we
Zolo
saw
goes
in
to the top of the timesheets, the
1-7.
31.761.
That's a very quick lap.
That's 6/10 quicker than the wildest
And
monk in
Monk.
the AMG. He would be furious at this time, don't you think?
Yeah, I think they might be losing time at the chicanes. So we still have another 3 minutes to go. Maybe these guys can iron out their laps, and because I think on the Mercedes with a low amount of fuel, right? I think mid 31s is possible. So we should see that is if you nail the chicanes, right?
Right.
And I think uh, the Mercedes is good on the chicanes, so he should be able to improve his lap. He might be able to bring down that gap.
Absolutely. So we're looking at Fiersby
Absolutely.
in the Supra. He did a 33.0, about 1.2 seconds away from Zolo. Bukaran in the Porsche. It feels like the Porsche is not really made for this tournament, right? Like I mean the car has amazing fuel, it's amazing on tires, but I think Karan could have been a little how should I say this, strategic about this, like all the other drivers who went with the cars with a faster top line speed. Zolo as well. I mean, the Mazda is very, very good on fuel, but it does lack some amount of top speed. So I think Karan is losing out, for a first-time participant. He is there in the midfield all the time, so I think he'll easily qualify for the finals. But what are your thoughts on the Porsche?
Porsche is, I mean, it's one of those cars that is, it's an all-rounder, no doubt. But for tracks like this, I think he will definitely need some sort of a tow to stay with the top guys, especially if there are a lot of GTRs and Supras around. So he will need some sort of a tow. But I think compared to the cars in here right now, he should be fine if he is able to maintain the slipstream. Plus, we should also see what kind of strategy he is going to use. Because on the Porsche, I think one stopper should be possible easily. It's also one of those cars which is good on fuel, so he should be able to do that. I think we should see what kind of strategy some of these guys use.
Absolutely. So Tyson in the Aston Martin, he's a fairly new guy. He's just about 2.5 seconds off of Zolo's time, which I think is a significant improvement, considering he's like very, very new to the group, very, very new to racing in general, in GT Sport at least.
Exactly.
Right. So
I think even
go ahead.
Burst has improved. I think from the time that he had joined us, like from the first race, right? He's right now around 2.9 seconds, pretty much 3 seconds behind Zolo, but he's on a Viper, so it is. I mean, Viper is good on straights, but we're not sure how good it is on the chicanes. And he is losing some time over there as well. So I think these guys are not really far off in terms of pace. It's just they need a bit more practice, and they should be easily competing with the guys at the top.
Yes, definitely.
I agree to that. I'm looking at Archie in the comments saying storming lap there from Zolo. Archie, good to have you here, man. Yes, it was a storming lap from Zolo, but he's not giving up just yet. He's about 300ths off his pace on Sector 1. I'll just
Monk
try.
is really
Monk
close.
is very, very close. He's just about 700ths. So he's coming up to the chicane. Let's see how Monk does in the chicane. He has to brake just. Oh, he takes it way too aggressively, but I think he manages it. Might get a penalty.
That.
Yeah, I think he just
and
loses out.
he runs out of time. Okay.
He runs out of time. So Zolo still has time to finish this lap. is not really in the slipstream from
He's not
Sushimaka.
yet.
So I think he's safe in P1, but I'm sure he would want to improve on his time. The other thing is that when the race actually starts, I'm pretty sure that Monk is going to go into P1 with the kind
That
of
is what I was about to
starts,
say.
yeah, the kind of starts
Because
that he's been having. I don't think qualifying positions matter really that much for him.
I think for standing starts, the Mercedes is really good. I think because even during practice sessions, I took the Mercedes, and for standing starts, it just launches off,
Yeah,
even with
Solo doesn't
traction
improve on
control.
his
So
time. He's still at 31.761. So people who are watching the stream, we did have a couple of drivers disconnect due to lobby issues. So what we'll do is once qualifying ends, um, we'll have Pleb talk to you a little bit about, how the race is and what kind of strategies there are, while I set a manual grid so that the racers who missed out on qualifying might be able to, um, see if they can at least start the race. It's all thanks to GT Sport, but that's that's the best we can do at this stage. So, Pleb, talk to us about the the strategies that you've seen during the races, and I'll set the grid in the
so
meantime.
yeah. So I think here, based at least based off of our initial practice sessions, uh, one stopper is the way to go. But for a one stopper, you need to save a lot of fuel. I think Santosh as well was trying to do a two stopper. So Santosh, do you have any idea, like, if that worked out for you, or if you still think that one stopper would be a better choice? Because as far as I feel, one stopper is a better choice. You can save good amount of fuel, maybe use a couple of different fuel mixtures here and there, and you can still make it happen. What do you think?
Absolutely. I would say that since the first two laps are very important for us to,
Yeah,
set
it
the right
is.
mindset. Because, for example, if you are going into toe and toe on the first lap, and we believe that we are burning a lot of fuel in the very first two laps, I think two stopper would be a good idea based on the
Hmm.
momentum that your car got. So you got to know your car very well. If you know that your car can pull out a two stopper and can be really quick, then I could say, yeah, definitely, why not? We can go for two stopper. But if you believe that the car lacks, a little bit of pace, I think saving fuel and also, focusing on our average lap pace is very important in this kind of race. And especially when we have two difficult corners around this track, the chicane, man, it could really unsettle our car. So we will have to be very careful. And it also gives us an opportunity to save fuel there, when we go into low mix, we really don't need to carry too much speed, but at least we can be very nominal on our throttle input around that corner.
Yeah.
And having a low fuel mix around that corner doesn't give our car a bump, But compared
Yeah.
to what we have seen in quali, taking those corners at aggressive speed really can help us save a lot of time there. And also, we don't need to, unsettle our car. It's all about how we take that corner in and through and out.
And also, I think for cars like the Supra, right? I think we saw that a lot of guys were having some trouble fuel saving for a one stopper, because many of
Yes.
them were out just at the finish line. So I think it will be important for people who are doing a one stopper to stick behind each other, make use of the slipstream, and save as much fuel as they can, so that towards the end, right, when there is, let's say, another 10 minutes or 5 minutes remaining, that is when I would do all the moves. Because if you start fighting early on, you are also losing your fuel. You're not
Yeah.
you're not going to be focusing on fuel saving. Like, there'll be too many things to focus, right? You'll have to focus on fuel saving, tire management, as well as trying to make moves on someone. So I think having less number of things to focus on will help you much more towards the end of the race, because you can save so much fuel and make use of that towards the end, because that is when people are going to
Absolutely.
try to make moves.
Quick
Yes,
update
absolutely.
from race control as well. We're just setting up the grid right now, waiting for a driver to join in. He's just done that. We will be starting the race in the next 30 seconds. So yeah, you guys continue. I'll let you know when the
Awesome.
race starts.
Sure, I agree with you, Aditya.
Yeah.
As said, there will be many, things to focus on. But when we go into a mode where we can only focus on fuel saving and be very consistent, that's where we can bring the best out of our lap times and also what our car can do. But sometimes, situations are like that. It can force drivers to compete without thinking too
Hmm.
much about the end result. So when we go, in a tug battle, that's where things get more interesting. But I think since people have seen what would be the other way of doing that from previous races, I believe people are more experienced and knowledgeable, and I think we will be seeing a lot of one stoppers to it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think another issue is right just before the race starts. It's important to note that if you are fighting a lot, there'll definitely be incidents and you might incur
Yes.
penalties. So it's important to note that.
All right, so
Yeah.
the race has started. And all right, so the guys are on a standing start. We are looking at sushi marker right now. I'll switch my view to the wildest monk. I feel like he's going to
He's
do,
going to get a
yeah,
good
he's
start.
he's going to get a good start on this one. So we're just waiting for the racers, for the lights to start going as well. I just hope the Gran Turismo. Oh yes, we are off the wildest one. Look at that. The start that he gets off the
Everyone is
line.
off, which is
It's
good. Yep.
just, it's just, look at the gap he is already.
He's already
Already
half a second
already half a
ahead.
second ahead of these guys. Well, these guys are fighting and swapping for positions. The wildest monk is already ahead. But then again, Solo with that superior fuel-saving car,
He can
he can
he
just
can
stay there,
easily
right?
bring back Monk, even though Monk got a good exit, I mean, good start, right? So even if Monk does escape from Zolo, Zolo has the advantage of his car. He can just go at an average pace, fuel save, and jump Monk in the pits. He can easily do that with
Yeah,
the
so I'm
Mazda.
looking at all the drivers going through. Um, there seems to have been some issue with Sushi. I think he lost out on a couple of positions. We'll see if our replay
Hmm.
cameras caught that by any chance. But Sushi messed up. Like he started third in the race. I
He
mean,
did.
it's not all gone yet. You still have the opportunity to make moves and gain positions, as we've all done during the races. So, uh, let's see if our replay cameras caught Sushi in a bind somewhere. So he's already down to fifth position after the start. I think he got a bad start because of, well,
Supra
Supra,
is, yeah,
right?
that is something to me.
Oh, he gets hit by
And
Junior,
collected.
which is not a good sign. He gets hit by both. I think Junior is the one who hits, and he gets squeezed into the wall almost. Almost getting squeezed into the barrier and losing out completely. I think that is going to be a point of contention when the race incident starts coming up. Sushi is now 1.6 seconds behind Junior.
Also, I think for Bukaran, he's had a great start. He's in P3 right now, and he has lost out on the slipstream to Monk. But if he can somehow make it happen with Crispy, if he can stay behind him or work with him once these guys catch up to each other, I think he should be able to make a one-stopper work. That would be really good for him if he can get like a top 5 finish.
Yeah, so I think Bukaran has the skill to finish on the podium. I'm sure he does. It's just about keeping a level head, using the car to your advantage. See, the guys at the front, they're trying to work together. So Zolo is obviously, he wants to save fuel. Monk wants to save fuel. I think these guys understand that a one stop is going to be much, much
Is the
faster
way.
in the grand scheme of things. So these guys are saving fuel, which gives an opportunity to Karan to maybe burn off just a little bit as he takes that chicane. I'm still so scared of that chicane. It just unsettles the car, and it just sometimes it just launches you in the air with no steering controls whatsoever.
It does.
So Yeah, so with looking at Karan and Crispy Bacon, now it's the time for these guys to start working together. See, as
Yep.
much as you criticize this element of Gran Turismo being unrealistic, it's about using stuff that's available to your advantage. Obviously, in a
Exactly.
real
Right. I
race,
mean,
you would not be bumper drafting people towards the end because you can just break your car pretty much. But if the game allows that competitive advantage, just take it
we've
because
also seen this happen, right? Like with all the top players. So pump drafting is a thing in the game, and a lot of people
Yes.
do it. So, and the game used to penalize it, especially in the daily races.
yeah,
But in lobbies, right, it's available, so you can do it. I mean, what's wrong?
exactly,
And
because
also,
it doesn't really. I'll come back to you, Santosh, because I
yeah,
always thought of this, as something that uh, might not might not really make sense. But I remember Ankur telling me when he was my teammate in one of the very first seasons, where I was like 3 seconds an average behind per lap. He used to tell me, why wouldn't you use any competitive advantage available to you, because Lord knows everybody
Exactly.
else is doing it.
Yeah. So
So it
what's
doesn't really make sense that you're handicapping yourself in the name of
unnecessarily
realism,
exactly right?
right?
Morality. Yeah.
Morality and realism. I just want to, I'll come back to you, Santosh, on that. I just want to acknowledge a couple of things in the chat as well. Vedant and so we have a new member, Akshat Agarwal says, "Go monk," as we have a collision between Sushi and Junior Kick. As
No,
it's just
I
all
think
kicking off. I'll see if our replay cameras caught that by any chance. Sushi gets really close. I think
I
that was like a netcode issue.
yeah, I think Junior is lagging because yeah, he is glitching out a bit
Yeah,
on
so I
screen.
think Junior's internet is acting up. But yeah, coming back to the chat. So Vedant says Monk will run out of fuel if he's not careful. Akshat says go Monk. And Shaz says the GTR is lagging quite a lot. The P5 GTR, which I think is uh, Junior Kick-Ass. So I think
Yep.
Cafe Racer caught that before we did. No, Shaz also says no point in overtaking as long as the guy ahead is too slow. I think we all have to agree to that. But yeah, coming back to Santosh, your thoughts about this whole competitive advantage and handicap thing?
yeah, for sure. As speaking of real racing, when we go into virtual racing, there has been a bit of grey advantage, and people really don't know whether can we perform this move or not. But if pros are doing it, then we would definitely need to learn how this advantage can help both parties, right? So at the end of the day, it's like helping out each other and also maintaining the competitive advantage. Sometimes you might be having some grey procedures in the rule books, but if we believe that it is allowed, then why not? I totally agree with that. And also, how I see the race is panning out is people are divided into a bunch of two, and except Bukarun and Chris seems they are pretty distributed over the grid. But I think people who are bunch of two and are also working out each other should save a lot of fuel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for
definitely.
certain. I mean, if you are not quick enough, you might as well save fuel, and that's the whole point. If you're quick enough, if you're at the back of the field for some reason, then it makes sense to. I'm sorry, then it makes sense to burn some fuel and try to catch up to the guys. But
And
everybody's race pace is pretty much going to be the same. Ranging from mid 33s to 34s. Now, that actually reminds me, Tyson did a 136.4. So he's definitely slow, but he's still here. He's still taking part. Burst mode did a 137.0 in the last lap. Compare that to the top guys. Zolo did a 132.8 in the last lap. The Wildest Monk did a 133.1. So
fun.
Zolo has already carved out a 2.3 second gap over Monk.
He
Now,
is. I think if you notice another thing, Abhi, like he has saved even more fuel than Monk, and he's having good pace. So it clearly shows how he is able to take advantage of the Mazda. that is a good car, and it has fuel saving. So to focus on your pace and save fuel, he's really pushing right now. And now with that lead, this is going to put Monk in a difficult position.
Yeah,
He
I
has
think
to short
Monk,
shift.
to a certain extent, I think Monk has accepted that he's going to compete to win this race, because even while we were racing, while all the practice sessions and everything, Zolo was beating the Group A guys by 20
A
seconds.
very good margin.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was beating them by 20 seconds in the race. So I imagine that it's going to be very, very hard to beat Zolo on this track, unless, of
Let's
course,
not
he
try to
flips it.
jinx Solo.
Let's not.
I think majority of the times it is the commentator's curse that has messed up Solo. Hopefully it's not
Yeah,
this
for sure.
time.
Yeah,
Hopefully he's going
Yeah,
to have a
hopefully
good
it's
that's the
not.
race.
reason. I think that's the reason we're not going to focus too much on the top guys.
Yep.
Even in the last race, I don't think we focused too much in the midfield, because that's where all of the action happens. So I'm looking at Crispy Bacon, Karan, and Sushi. Very, very close together, all of these guys. And they're just trying to egg each other on. They're not making unnecessary moves unless, if something comes up. But if they can work together, they can just get away from, Fiersby, let's say in 6th position. Look at that. There's already a 2.4 second gap between Fiersby and Sushi. And after that, it's just, there's no point of contention. Junior is already in 7th position. Burst Mode is in 8th. Tyson is in 9th. So these guys are quite far behind. But the lap is shorter, right? So there's going to come a point where Zolo, because he won't really be stopping, Zolo will have to overtake these back markers in a very, very quick track. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Zolo, Monk, Karan, all of these guys try to overtake, let's say, Tyson and Burst Mode and all of these guys. So this is going to be a very, very interesting watch. What are your thoughts?
I think
Yes.
if Zolo is alone while he's overtaking these black markers, I think
Crispy
he
Bacon
can
going into a
make some
move. Oh,
on Bukaran.
I think Bukaran overtook him. Crispy Bacon
Yeah, he
takes
did
that
at
position
the-
back. I think Bukaran
Position
probably
back, yeah.
overtook him at the chicane. And you really don't want to be making moves at the chicane, do you? Because there's such a long straight after that. You're not lifting at all for that entire straight. So you're better off just, easing off the throttle a little bit, save some fuel, lift and coast, and then try to get them on the straight. What do you think, Santosh?
Absolutely, for sure, because it also depends on how the understanding is between the two players. They should be very well aware that going into a chicane is like a suicide for both of them. And I believe our racers are very aware today. They are respecting each other's lines when they are going into chicane, and I believe people will come out safely without any too much competition through the chicanes. But yes,
Sushimaka
as you
going
said,
for a move.
And he makes it live.
oh,
Yeah, see, that's the problem. You brake a little late on the inside, and you end up at the same position that you were in. I'll see if our replay cameras caught that by any chance. So we'll look at Sushi in 5th position. So these guys are going through the left-hander. Now he obviously gets a good, good speed through this straight, because he's in the slipstream. Moves to the inside, makes his intentions known, brakes a little bit late, and look at that. It's just all
It's
goes
quite
away.
unnecessary, exactly. And he's back at where he was, and that has also kind of slowed down all three of the guys, right? So this lets Fiersby, who is behind them, to catch them up. And looking based on the fuel, I think these guys will have to pit soon, probably in the next lap. And
Yeah,
we
so
are
I think
almost
lap
close to
9
half
is when, that's the half
race,
distance.
yeah.
So lap 9 is when these guys actually pit. Aditya in the comment says, brilliant to watch P3 to P5 alternate train. Yes, it is. The top two guys are quite a far bit ahead. But these guys are in their fight of their own. Fiersby is about to join them very, very soon, so I'm not really sure how would that work out. Vedant says, nice, mature driving by Bukaran. Yes, I understand. I mean, see, it's a racer's instinct, right? At the end of the day, you want to make some moves. But the other part of being a racing driver is to
All right.
also understand when to make those moves. As I say that,
Current
Bukaran
pits in.
pits with just 7% fuel remaining. So I don't see anybody else pitting right now. This is going to get very, very interesting between Bukaran, Sushi Maka, and Crispy Bacon.
I mean, not really sure how much fuel he was saving. But now he has to save a bit more because he's still a minute behind half time of the race. So maybe he might need to save a lot more when he comes out. And he
Yeah.
might be alone as well, I think. If he's alone, it's going to be really tough for him.
Yeah, this is the point where Crispy Bacon and Sushi Maka just need to work together and see if they can just make sure
Exactly.
there's no threat on the undercut. Santosh, what are your thoughts on the guys that we're looking at, their race so far? Do you think they're working together? Do you think they're just waiting for the other guys to make a move? What are your thoughts?
I believe that since now Chris and Sushi will jump into pits, I think they're working together until they enter the pits. But once after they exit the pits, I think it's going to be a rumble for both of them. But for now, I believe they are working together until they make it to the pits.
Absolutely. So we'll stay on these guys. The Wildest Monk pits as well. So Zolo is continuing. I think Zolo will do at least 11 to 12 laps.
Crispy does have a tad bit fuel, so he might be able to jump Sushi Marker when they exit. But it'll be interesting to see where Bukaran joins these guys.
Yep. So I'm gonna stay
He's
on
had
Bukaran, who is 24 seconds behind Junior Kickass. How did that happen? I think Junior hasn't pitted yet. So
yep, yeah.
oh yeah, so Junior goes into the pits. Staying at Bukaran, this is going to be a very important phase of the race for him because if he loses the toe, then the Porsche has no chance to catch up to
is
those
very
guys on
difficult.
pure pace.
So he is making the corner right now, and
Look at that,
he
Crispy
comes out
Bacon
just
and
behind him.
Sushi coming out of the pits. They're obviously going to be slow. Bukaran has to play this right. He needs to position his car properly. He gets the toe from Crispy Bacon and regains
All right,
that
he
fourth
joins
position. Wow. So all
It's a
of
very
that
good
talking,
move.
all of that focusing on all of these drivers, and we end up right back where we started. But Crispy and Sushi will obviously have more fuel than Bukaran does, don't you think?
Yeah, I think right now
Yes.
what Bukaran should do is think and see if he can make it to the end. I mean, if he cannot, if he feels he cannot, he has to behind these guys. Otherwise, if he loses any one of them by battling them too much or making mistakes, then he'll probably have to settle in whatever place he is in. So he has to make use of the slipstream right now.
Okay, so I'm going to focus a little bit on the Wildest Monk while Zolo is in the pit. So Zolo goes ahead with a 44-second advantage to Monk. The pit loss is somewhere close to about 35 seconds, if I'm not wrong.
I think it is, yeah.
Zolo comes out of the pits, and it looks like a 6.5 second gap. Yeah, a 6-second gap. So, I think people who are unaware, they are going to see the true power of the Mazda now. So it's about 5.6 seconds of a gap between these two drivers. We'll come back to them in a couple of laps, unless, you know, there are the incidents or Zolo just wins it somewhere, which I hope he doesn't. I think within the next 3 to 4 laps, Zolo would have almost doubled that lead. So, while these guys are stuck in their own positions, let's go back to this what Aditya calls a movie sequence right there. Yes, it is. So Crispy has a 1.3 second lead to Sushi. Bukaran has lost out.
He has.
He's now in 5th position. He's not in the slipstream anymore.
And the Supras are they're comparatively faster than the Porsche, so he has lost out on both of them. So now he has to save a good chunk of fuel.
Absolutely.
make it
And
to the end.
this gives, we're looking at Fierceby
PSP is right behind.
Bukaran. So this gives an opportunity to Fierceby as well to, either save some fuel or get a nice slingshot off of Karan and try to see if he can attack those guys in the front. But this is like a nice battle brewing between these four guys. Karan, Fierceby, Sushi, and Crispy. Obviously, the gap is, temperamental. It goes up and down based on their performance per lap. But Santosh, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously, the Porsche is competing against the Supra, two Supras and an RCZ. And the RCZ, that car is very, very good on fuel and tires as well. And Dwayne drives it to the maximum, like to the absolute limit. So what are your thoughts in terms of what's going to happen towards the end of the race?
So I can predict is Crispy will be very good at saving his fuels now, since we see Sushi is closing up, but I'm not pretty sure how can he close the gap on the main straight once we see. So we will be expecting some good fuel saving from both the Supras, because I see that Bukaran just made a move on he's trying to gain back. Okay.
Yeah, so Fierceby and Bukaran were going side by side. That looked like a very good move from Fierceby. So I'm trying to see if our replay cameras caught that by any chance. So I'm gonna stay on Fierceby. See, he gets a good slipstream. Now he has to decide whether to bump him or just make a move. He flashes his lights, goes for the move on the inside, keeps it tight and clean. There's a little hint of a contact, but absolute maximum respect shown by both these drivers. Bukaran tries to brake a little bit late, but he does not have the corner. Not at that chicane, my friend.
And it is very risky, right, for both of them. So yeah.
Yes. I feel that Fierceby was smart enough and he made the move because he knew that Porsche couldn't save much fuel on the straights. So he will have to break the two and leave the Porsche in his rearview mirrors, because that's how he will be needing to catch up to another Supra, which is Sushi. I think now it's all up to Chris to either increase his pace or be working with Sushi.
So look like Sushi and Dwayne are working together. So Sushi is bump drafting,
which is good.
Which is good. Yeah. They need to get away from, the guy in fifth. So Sushi's not making moves just yet. He's just staying behind Crispy Bacon. He loses a ton of time. I think he understeers wide into that corner, into the wall as well. He still has about 7/10 of a gap, so he's in the slipstream. I don't think he'll lose out too much, obviously with the top end speed that the Supra has. But Fierceby is now about 1.9 seconds behind Sushi. So the group of four that we had, obviously Karan has split from that group now. So he doesn't have an opportunity until unless something drastic happens to these guys. But Fierceby, he's gaining. Look at the times. At one point it was about 2.1 seconds. It's now down to 1.3. He's catching up. So I think
he should be with these guys, I think, in the next lap or so. Because he needs to, right?
Sushi makes a move on the inside. Again, the move at the hairpin, that is not really the place to be making the move.
Fierceby has caught up.
And Fierceby has caught up to these guys. I want to look at that
That's all
move
it took.
once again. So Sushi gets a decent speed from the Supra, but look how far he is. And look where he makes the move from. He brakes late, he dives down the inside, doesn't even think about
is a bit aggressive.
going to the apex. Yeah, he doesn't even think about going to the apex.
Yeah.
I think the gap was quite a bit over the margin, and he could have been a bit more smooth over the RCC, because there were the back straight where we should given the Sushi an opportunity to overtake.
Okay. I think Fierceby has lost out quite a lot of time.
I just saw Fierceby in the background. Takes the chicane. The car just gets away from him. If the car gets away and you start to accelerate, it just gets even worse. So all the work that Fierceby did to get within 3/10 of crispy bacon. And again, this is the commentator's curse because we were praising him for it, and he just goes and bins it in the chicane. But let's look at Zolo. See, I told you, in the next 3 to 4 laps, he would have doubled that advantage. He's now 10 seconds ahead of Wildest Monk. Monk has no way to catch up to Zolo.
The only choice for Monk right now is to make it to the end with the amount of fuel. I think he can. He has plenty of fuel. Also, especially when you're making a move at the hairpin, right? In this time, you either make the move if you know or if you're sure that you are much quicker than the guy in front of you and you can build up a good amount of gap, or if you feel like you have enough fuel and you can make it to the end without needing the guy, without the slipstream of the guy in front. So maybe that is why Sushi Maker made that move, because right now he is a second ahead, and if he can build that gap, then that would have been a good move for him on the previous lap. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it makes sense, especially if you have, you know, a faster car, as you said. So yeah, we'll just have to see how the race progresses.
I think
we still have about 5.5 minutes of running time remaining. I think we'll get about 2 more laps of racing action. So we'll stay with these guys. So right now, Fierce being 5th, 3.6, 3.5 seconds behind Crispy Bacon. He's still gaining, so we should not count out Fierce Beat just yet, but we might as well look at the other drivers. So Karan about 4.7 seconds behind Fierce B in 6th position, bang in the midfield right there. And Junior Kickass about 23 seconds behind Karan and 57 seconds behind the leader.
Solo.
That's just crazy. But given the fact that Junior is a very new driver, we'll cut him some slack. He's improving as, you know, the time passes. I'm sure he'll get better and better as we have more races. Burst mode about 1 minute and 6 seconds behind Solo, and Tyson about 2 minutes. I think Tyson has already been overtaken, already been lapped once, and burst mode might get lapped, maybe. I don't see that happening. So it's like 1 minute and 7 seconds. A lap is about 1 minute and 30. Okay, coming back to the...
I think...
Go ahead.
Yeah, Zolo has pulled out another 3 seconds on Monk. So he's just coasting right now. He has nothing to worry about, and he has plenty of fuel. So I think Zolo has the race.
Yeah, and Vedu in the chats says, thank God Zolo is not there in Group A.
In Group A. Yeah. I'm sure these guys dodged a bullet with him not being in Group A.
Yeah, Zolo has been phenomenal on this track. You know, a lot of people were not really sure about his choice of car for this tournament, but he's made it work. I mean, he has had some bad luck here and there, but all in all, he has been very quick. He's among the top 3 drivers in Group B right now. Vedant says Zolo doing 131. So yeah, Zolo, the fastest lap of the race is 131.946. Zolo did a 131.946 in the last lap. So compare that to the Wildest Monk, who did a 134.1 in the last lap. This is just unreal. Santosh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it seems like Mazda is taking full advantage of its lightweight compared to AMG, and we can see lift and course really worked out very well for Mazda in the last few laps. So now, since we are in closing stage, both guys almost have same fuel, but Mazda being on a lighter side, we can see how dominant is that on this track.
Absolutely. So I wanted to go back to, you know, the battle the four-way battle that we were having between all of these guys. Sushi has pulled out a 1.4 second advantage to Crispy Bacon, so that's going to be difficult for him. But Crispy is making mistakes. He's, you know, running a little bit wide here. He's grazing the wall there, and that's allowing Fierce B an opportunity to catch up. But Fiersby is about 2.8 seconds behind Crispy Bacon with just 2 minutes of running time remaining.
I think it's a bit too late for him to. There's too little time for him to make any move right now.
Yeah, I think
And
Fiersby made a mistake somewhere as well. So he's up
it's
3
gone down to
point
3.
3 point
Okay.
something seconds. I'll check if our replay cameras caught that by any chance. No, we did not. So I think Fiersby made a mistake before.
Before the hairpin,
Yeah,
probably.
before the hairpin, absolutely.
It's very easy to go into the walls, right? On the S corners. So you just miss your apexes even a little, and you touch the wall, and then it just pushes you wide, and then it ruins your rhythm through those corners. So he might have lost some time there, but anyway, it's like just another minute remaining, and it's quite difficult, I think, for any of these guys right now to make a move. They're all pretty much spread out. Right now, no one is close to one another.
Yeah, so we're looking
Yeah.
at we're on board Zolo. We're just talking about how to get as good of a line through those S corners. I think the key is to get as close to the wall, maybe even graze the wall a
It
little
is.
bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, the braver you are, the better lap times you get. But also a moment of appreciation for GT Sport. I mean, it's a night race. There's a ton of elements out on the track, but it just looks stunning, doesn't it?
Also, Abby, I think on that note, GT7 should be out next week, right? So this is like probably the last race that we are seeing before GT7 comes out. So a lot of players are also going to be really excited for GT7. So this should be a memorable race.
Yeah, and for the people who are watching who don't really know, here's how this tournament progresses. Next week
I
we
think
race at Monza. The week after, we race at the. Oh, the race has
Nürburgring.
finished. So
the
Zolo
Zolo has. Yeah, I was.
Zolo does get
Zolo
P1,
has
while
taken
this
P1.
Monk does get
Monk takes
P2.
P2.
Sushi coming in to finish.
That's a good
P-
race by Sushi. I
Yeah,
think
it's a very
this
good
race was
race
a
Yeah.
good
by Sushi.
performance.
Crispy comes home in 4th position. Fiersby's a little behind, so he'll be there in the next 4 or 5
Fifth.
seconds. So Fiersby comes home to take 5th. Karan behind him takes 6th. And Junior, who is still running with Tyson. So Tyson has been lapped at least twice, I think.
I think
Because-
both of these guys must have gone for a two-stopper. So
Yeah, that makes more sense. So yeah, it's a good thing, they're staying throughout the end of the race. They're learning as much as they can. But
Exactly.
while these guys are reaching for the finish line, I just want to continue on what we're talking about. So we have another race next week that's on Monza. We have, and that ends the the homologation part of this entire tournament. So they can have this car for the next race, but race number 6 the week after, it's going to be on the Nürburgring 24 hours in the dark with a Group 4 car of their choice. Right, I'll come back to the tournament format once again. But
That was a fantastic race
talk to
by
us about the race plan.
Zolo.
Yes.
Yep. So I think it was quite easy for him with the Mazda. He was able to save a lot of fuel, do a one-stopper, and all he had to do was just stay consistent through his laps, not make any mistakes, and that is what he has done. So this race has worked out very well in his favor. And Monk, I think if he could have stayed with Zolo, it would have been close towards the end. But nonetheless, P2. So they both are exchanging places here and there to the tournament. So it's a good place for Monk as well. And Sushi Maker, right? So that's it is a very very good showing from his side to be able to manage his fuel and and his tires and not make any mistakes and stay with the guys and make moves when needed. So that has put him in P3. I think that's a good race from all three guys.
Absolutely. So there are people on the chat congratulating the top three. Absolutely well deserved. At points during the race, it felt like it was a little bit too monotonous, which I think Zolo would gladly accept. He qualified first. He went back to second at the race start, but he gained that position, and after that was smooth sailing for him. So people who are still in the live stream, just want to let you know we'll have a race tomorrow at the same time. Group A guys. Now, all of the Group A people, and there are going to be 14 of them on this crowded track with narrow lanes and walls along both sides. That's going to be an interesting watch.
Chaotic.
It's going to get chaotic. It's everything that we love. So it's going to get very, very exciting tomorrow. But Santosh, talk to us about fourth, fifth, and sixth.
So fourth, fifth, and sixth, we have Chris, Fierce P, and Bukaran as Drizzy. I believe that Bukaran, could have saved more fuel and could have experimented with his Porsche in the last closing minutes. But Chris was consistent through his race, and we know that RCC is also good on fuel saving. But Fierce B tried to do some moves in the closing stages of the race, but it didn't work out really well. But anyways, speaking of 4, 5, 6, it's a very strong position for them, especially on this narrow track. And respecting each other's race was a good sportsmanship, which was shown between all of these guys, especially when we see there were no incidents. If you didn't notice, there were no incidents at the chicane at all, and also through the SS. So I believe it was a very good race for all of them. And over to you for 7th, 8th, 9th, Aditya and Abhi.
Yeah, so Junior, Burst Mode, and Tyson. I love the fact that they're taking part in this tournament. I've been in their position, being a couple of laps down, just trying to be there, trying to learn as much as I can, and not quit races. That's the important bit. No matter where you are, go through with the race. It gives you a lot of opportunity to practice, to learn. Not just learn as someone driving in the front, but also learn as someone driving at the back, because then not only you have to worry about your race, but you also have to worry about all of the fast guys coming to lap you. So there's a ton of awareness around there. I think there's going to be great exposure for these guys. But talking about the race tomorrow and the tournaments, I just want to give a little update on what's happening and how we are actually planning to do this. So next week is Monza in the same Group 3 cars that these guys were driving today. The week after, however, is a Joker. Now, in that race, they'll be racing on the Nürburgring 24 hours. That will be a longer race. It's going to be a 40-minute race, and they have an opportunity to choose any Group 4 car of their choice. But here's the best part. That is a double points race. So no matter where you finish, you get double the points. So we'll see some movement up and down the pecking order in this entire thing as well. And also once, and this happens for both of the groups, right? For Group B and Group A. Once that happens, we pick the top 7 drivers from each group, and they take part in a final showdown. The details will be revealed next week, hopefully. In the finals, the player who comes first gets a Gran Turismo 7 disc shipped to him as prize and a cash prize of 4,000 rupees. The person who comes second gets a cash prize, if I remember correctly, it's about 2,000 rupees, and a Gran Turismo digital copy, a Gran Turismo 7 digital copy. And the guy who comes third gets a cash prize of 1,000 and PSN credits worth 1,000 rupees as well. So there's a lot of prize money on offer. And the finals are going to be insane. I urge you to stay tuned with us. Join us tomorrow for the race with the Group A drivers. Some of the top drivers in India, the top 14 of them, who are going to be separated by milliseconds throughout,
Yep.
grazing
Yes.
each other, fighting with each
It's
other.
going to be very competitive
Yes,
between
Very
these guys.
Yes.
absolutely. So, as a parting message, Pleb, why don't you take
Yeah.
the honors?
So I think as we were talking about the guys who finished towards the back end, it was worth noting that through all these races they have always stuck on, right? Not a single race they have left. So that is a good improvement, and it's showing that they are still motivated and they want to get better places in the upcoming races. So even if they finish in the back end towards the end of the tournament, this is a very good exposure for them to put in more time, put in more practice, and get a better performance next time around when we have more tournaments. Because right now, as we all know, like the simulation, I mean the entire simulation, the esports is becoming bigger and bigger. So a lot of opportunities for everyone. And coming back to the race, it was a fantastic race. Zolo took it, and that was very good for that too. It's not just his car, right? Even though you have a good car, you should also be able to drive it well. So it's good props to him and P2 and P3 as well. It was a great race all around.
Absolutely. Wonderful words from Pleb. I'm sure everybody knows he's the top guy in India. So any advice that you can get from him is golden advice. Once again, it has been me, Abhishek, thanking you for your time. Spending a couple of hours on your Saturday evening. It was a pleasure to have everyone on the stream with us, watching as these racers fought tooth and nail for positions, with Zolo coming out on top. Join us tomorrow at the same time for the Group A race. That is going to be exciting, exciting, exciting. 14 drivers separated by separated by hundreds of seconds, and it's going to get chaotic. Until then, it's me, Abhishek. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good evening.